All right, today we are doing the pancake recipe, and I cannot take credit for this recipe. This recipe I found, and it is from Julie Clark at tastesoflizzieT.com. It is a recipe for sourdough pancakes. So I am just stirring together the dry ingredients here in my mixing bowl, and the dry ingredients for this recipe that you can just combine all together at the beginning are 2 cups of all-purpose flour, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, 1 teaspoon of baking soda, 2 tablespoons of granulated sugar, and I'm going to be honest, the granulated sugar, I double it. Because even with it doubled, you cannot really, they're not sweet pancakes. They're pretty bland. So I double it, and when you, 4 tablespoons is a 1/4 cup. So I'm just using my 1/4 cup measuring cup. There you go. 1/4 cup of sugar. Then you put in a teaspoon of salt, and I did that already. Here we have, it calls for 1 cup of fed starter. This is a 1 cup measuring cup if it was level full. Here I have 3/4 of a cup because I am using starter straight out of the fridge. And remember, we said 1 cup of fed starter equals about 3/4 of a cup straight out of the fridge. So dumping that in, and we'll just scrape out that little bowl here. Okay. Perfect. Then we have 1.5 cups of milk. Whatever kind of milk works. Whole, skim, anything in between. All right. And then we have 1 egg beaten. I don't really get carried away with it. I just beat it with a fork. No need to make it hard. There we go. And the one thing you want to do, and why I had the egg cracked into a cup, never crack an egg directly into your mixing bowl, because if you put all these ingredients in here, this is a couple dollars worth of stuff that you bought at the grocery store, and if you crack a bad egg into it, it's all trash. So always crack your eggs into a separate container. That way you don't ruin the whole recipe. All right. I'm gonna toss that other little spatula out of here. And, okay, so we've got our flour, we've got baking powder, baking soda, sugar, salt, sourdough starter, milk, egg, and now we need 2 tablespoons of vegetable oil. So here's our vegetable oil, here's a tablespoon. So we need 2 tablespoons of whatever you're using for vegetable oil, and it doesn't have to be literally vegetable oil. By vegetable oil, they're saying, you know, that could be olive oil, canola oil, even, I mean, if you have to be kind of careful with some of the coconut oils because they have like extra coconut flavor added to them, and so they kind of make everything have an off flavor, and some of them, when you cook them up, they get a weird taste to them. So if it's like a fairly non-messed with coconut sort of thing, you could probably do that. You could probably also do butter if you were so inclined. I just use olive oil. That's what I keep around. And then you're just going to mix it until you see the dry stuff go away. And just kind of, I like the silicone spatulas for this because you can scrape all the dry stuff down. All right. All right, and while we're stirring, I'm going to go ahead, and this is our cast iron skillet. I like to use cast iron for this. You can use just a regular pan. It really doesn't matter. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to set it to medium, and just while I'm mixing this up, it can be heating up. If you're using like a modern aluminum skillet, they heat up pretty quick. Never really try to resist trying to heat pans up on high, especially if they have a non-stick coating. If you try and heat up a Teflon pan on high, often if you overheat, if you overheat Teflon, it gives off toxic chemicals that are fumes that you then breathe in. With cast iron, it doesn't do that, but this beautiful black seasoning that you see here is layers and layers and layers. What it basically is, they call it seasoning, but what it is it's burnt on oil from years and years and years of use, and it works better than Teflon. But if you go scorching your pan, you'll burn that coating right off, and your pan will be sticky and awful to work with. So here, if you see what I'm working with here, that's about as good as it's going to get. You never really get pancakes or even cake mixes 100% completely smooth, but you want to make sure there's no big nasty clumps. If it's just a little bit, you can see here, you know, if I'm pulling it through here, it's pretty thick. Like I can scrape the bottom and it'll come back together. There's a few little clumps in there, but that's okay. If you keep mixing it until all the clumps are gone, it will make your pancakes really tough and dry, like shoe leather, and you do not want that. So just gonna call that good. And then for actually dosing it out, my favorite way to do it is like these old-timey scoops that they used for ice cream or stuff. These work awesome for like muffins and pancakes and all sorts of stuff that the batter's really sticky. So you just scoop it in, bloop, and you're good. But let's see how our skillet's doing. It's getting warm. All right, let me take my little squirt of water. And what you want to do is you want to be able to put a drop of water on here, and you don't want it to sit there. You don't want it to run around the pan, because that means the pan is too hot. But you do want it to immediately start boiling off. Just like that. Let me do it one more time just so you can see it. Okay, see, it doesn't run around the pan, it just sits there and boils off quickly. Perfect. All right, so we're gonna give this pan just a shot of oil, not much, just a little, and then we're actually going, let me get a spatula here. My favorite spatula to use for these things are these fish spatulas, because they have a very narrow, sharp edge, so you can get under those pancakes and those eggs and stuff. Where your normal turners have a really blunt edge right there, and what you end up doing is like snow plowing the edge of your stuff and ruining them. It's really irritating. So I love me a good fish spatula. Okay, so I'm just coating the whole thing in oil. And don't throw away this paper towel, because you'll come back to it and you can use it to re-oil your pan between pancakes. All right, also, before we get to pancaking, get your oven set to 200 degrees. And what this does is it will keep your, let me turn down my pan. I'm seeing a little bit of smoke coming, which means it is starting to get too hot. Okay. I'll be just right back. I am going to go and grab a piece of tin foil to put in the oven to act as a nice thing to sit our pancakes on. All right, so I just took that off the heat for a second just to keep it from overheating, because I need to get the batter on it. The cold batter will cool the pan down, so I'm putting the sheet of tin foil in the oven on the rack, and that'll just keep the rack clean. Let's get these pancakes rocking. Okay, there we go. And depending on the size you want to do your pancakes, you can do smaller pancakes. I'm gonna do a 2-scoop pancake that's more of a kind of a plate filler type pancake. You can get, usually, if you're going to do a 2-scoop style pancake, and this scoop is about I'm going to say it's about a 1/2 cup scoop. Does it say on it maybe what it is? Nope. Darn it. All right, well, it's about a 1/2 cup scoop. Maybe 1/3 cup, something like that. You'll be able to get about 6 to 8 of these. If you do smaller pancakes, you can get about 12. If you're gonna do this for breakfast, this recipe is good for about, if you want to have about 2 pancakes each of the bigger ones, you can do about 4 people, or 3 smaller ones for 4 people. 4 people seems to be what really works. If you're gonna stretch it out with some pancakes and some eggs or something, then you might be able to get, 6 people or something on it. But you can always double the recipe too. So then what we're looking for the perfect pancakeage here is you can see that the sides, like the top is real shiny, the sides start to get kind of matte, which means they're set and the bottom is getting done. But what you want to see in the middle is you want to see bubbles come up in the middle, and when they open, they stay open. So see that one? See how they pop and then they close back up? You might have to blow up your video to full screen to see it because it's not huge. But you want some of those holes in the middle to start staying open, or staying open for a little bit longer time, or having the bubbles sit for a while. And that'll tell you that the bottom half of the pancake has cooked through. Even just some good steady bubbling in the middle is a good sign. So we're getting there. You can even smell, that little bit of yeasty, little bit tangy smell to them, which when you combine it with a little bit of syrup is just awesome. Just adds a little bit of character to pancakes, so it's not just like sweet on sweet on sweet on sweet. Okay, so here we're getting about ready to flip. That kind of matte cooked skin of the pancake has come in about an inch into the pancake. The center, we're getting some good solid bubbles that are sitting under the surface and staying there for a pretty long time. It's taken a long time for these bubbles to close, so it's getting pretty steamy and done in the middle. I'm gonna go ahead and go for a flip. So this pancake, I'm gonna go under one side, go under the other side, and then position in the middle and whip. Okay, so scrape under, and flip. Okay. Why you do that is if there's something stuck in over here and you just lift straight up, it's going to rip your pancake. So you kind of cut it off of the pan. This pan's so non-stick you don't need to do that, but I'm trying to teach for everybody, not just my situation here. So, and then you'll notice the center of this pancake, when it hits the pan, it'll just go and it'll poof up in the middle. Also, if you can see, let me pick this up and show you. So here, this little edge, you'll notice when it gets brown right there, that's pretty much when you want to check for it being done. This little edges that stick out like that. And if you don't know, cast iron pans, oh my God, they're heavy. So be careful. Cast iron on a glass cooktop, if you accidentally drop a cast iron pan full force on here, it will shatter your glass cooktop. And also, I have other stuff on my glass cooktop. Is this a best practice? No, it is not. No, it is not. If you are somebody who might turn on the wrong burner, or you have kids around and you're not paying attention, you probably want to go ahead and set this off to the side of what you're doing. But I am all left to my devices right now, so I am safe and good to go. Okay, my oven is preheated to 200, and your oven will preheat to 200 pretty fast because 200 degrees Fahrenheit is not asking much. Oven. Okay, we're getting a little bit of golden brown on that little piece over here that we were watching. So we'll wait until we see just a tickle more, and we'll get that baby into the oven. And what the oven does is it's twofold. It keeps the pancakes warm, and it keeps them from getting soggy while you're making them, so you don't have to serve your family members one pancake at a time, and then you have to eat by yourself at the end. And at the very beginning of the breakfast, you got people sitting there with no food telling you to hurry up. No, just make all the pancakes ahead of time and then sit down with your family and eat all together. So what you do is you tell them, don't sit down to breakfast, breakfast not ready, and get all the pancakes done and in your oven, and then you can just walk over to your oven and serve them straight out of the oven. Also, sitting at 200 degrees, they can probably sit at 200 degrees for a good half an hour or an hour before they start getting real dry. If you want them to sit in there for a longer time, you might want to put them in like a covered, like if you've got a pan that has a metal lid, or put them in a pan and then put tinfoil over the top, and that'd seal in some of the moisture to keep them from getting real dry. Okay, we're getting pretty golden over on our little check piece, so we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna go under, flip, perfect, golden brown. So we're going into the oven, and it'll just, and then that way, if you think you might accidentally have a little bit of a raw spot in the middle of your pancake too, it'll continue to cook a little bit in the oven. So if you do have any like little really thick pancakes that might be a pinch raw in the middle, they'll finish cooking in there, so you don't have to worry about it. Okay, on to the next pancake. All right, let's get this spatula. Ugh. Yes, let's get this spatula the heck out of here, because it is in the wrong place at the wrong time. All right. Now, 2 scoops. Let it drip off here. 1, 2. And I'm not going to make you watch me do them all. I'm just going to take you through about 2 of them, and then we're going to call it a day. So once we get done with this one, we'll wrap this video. Let's go ahead and spread this pancake out a little. Just take the back of that. There we go. Again, you're waiting for bubbles in the middle here. And I'm sure there are some of you who have done baking before or are excellent home cooks that are like, my God, why are these videos so long? Well, I can't require that you are a good home cook to be in microbiology. That wouldn't make sense. So this is for people who like literally have never been in the kitchen. Maybe they didn't have family that taught them how to cook. Maybe they're trying to teach themselves how to cook. Maybe they've never done this ever before and they don't even know what to look for. So I want them to be able to get a good result too, which means I'm over explaining things to beat the band. So feel free to fast forward me if I am boring you and you already know this stuff. Not a problem. I won't be offended. Again, we're just in the early stages and you're seeing kind of a matte where it's just not wet, shiny anymore. It's just slightly dull. It's not as shiny right on around the edge. And once that creeps in a little more and we get some more bubblage going here, we've got some good bubbling right kind of inside that outer ring, but we're not getting a whole lot of bubbling out of the middle like we need before we flip. All right, let me go ahead and I'm gonna go ahead and turn up my heat just a little bit. You don't need to overheat this, because if you turn your pan way up high, what you're gonna do is you're gonna have a burnt outside and a raw inside. You need it to be kind of in the medium to low area. Kind of like low medium is about perfect. So my oven goes to, I think it goes to about 9 or 10. I usually sit at about between 2 and 4, so about 3 on my dials on my oven. Okay, we've got that dull part creeping in and we're getting some better bubbling here in the middle. All right, we're also getting just a tinge of smoke which is also a sign. So we've got some good bubbling, and because I turned that heat up just a smidge, we are going to start going a lot faster. All right, so here's the flip. Perfect. And then we'll wait for this one. You might just have to, this one doesn't have any real hangovers. Oh, it does have it. It's just kind of under. So look for those little hangover little bits, and once they start getting brown, then pull it out and throw it in the oven. And that will give you your beautiful sourdough pancakes. And if you serve them pretty quickly, you'll have this nice crust. Well, not really a crust, but you'll have like a nice dry on top pancake. It won't be all mushy and wet. So if you can hear, it's just a beautiful pancake mix. Nice and fluffy when it hits the pan. It's not all flat and chewy. Wonderful pancakes. So I'll leave you with that.